Ross Tucker, football analyst for Westwood One Radio. He'll be on the national call tomorrow night, CBS Sports. You'll hear him this weekend. He's the host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast on YouTube. And wherever you get your podcast, you can follow him on the X platform, social media, at Ross Tucker NFL. And he joins us thanks in part to myfrontpagestory.com. The best gift ever. Sadly, we're in the holiday season already. That means football is almost done. Ross Tucker, what's up, buddy?
Mike, what's up, man? No, dude, it's only week 11. We got 2 months till the playoffs even start. So we still got a ways to go. I'm fired up. I will say this. I wrote about it in my column for the 33rd team, which will come out later this week. I can't ever remember this many teams feeling like they're already out of it. I mean, there's 11 teams that have 3 wins or fewer in week 11 in mid-November. That never happens in the NFL. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, it's been a it's funny you say that because you would think with all these have-nots that there's a bunch of haves, but it feels like it's Detroit, Kansas City, maybe Buffalo, and then it's like who's 4, who's 5. Like there's not a lot. It's not a top-heavy league either.
No, you know what's interesting on multiple levels? I actually think that there is a decent amount of – I mean, there might not be a bunch of really great teams, but there's a lot of teams that are really good. I mean, tomorrow night, obviously, Commanders, Eagles, 7-2, 7-3, you're doing work in the NFL, right? The Ravens and Steelers are both in the Ross Tucker Podcast Power Rankings top 7. Obviously, the Chiefs and the Bills. What I think is actually more interesting this year is there's not much of a middle class. You know, there's usually 5 really good teams, 5 really bad teams, and then 25 teams in the middle. This year, to me, it feels like there's almost 8 to 10 really good, 11 or 12 really bad, and just not that many in the middle. You know, we're getting to the point where they'll start to show the playoff race and they'll show the in the hunt graphic. And it just feels to me like there aren't that many teams really in the hunt. You know, it's kind of like you're in or you're out.
Ross Tucker, you have myfrontpagestory.com. If we were writing a front page article about Philadelphia, are they top half, middle of the road? I'm obviously not at the bottom, but there's a lot of people, you know this, man, these people still think that 1-7 finish is lingering.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they're one of the best teams in football. And I feel pretty confident about that. I think I had them on the Ross Tucker Podcast Power Rankings 4th this week, 2nd in the NFC. I think I went, Mike, Chiefs 1, Lions 2, Bills 3, Eagles 4. Then you get to the Steelers, Ravens, Commanders. I can't remember off the top of my head. So, no, I mean, listen, the Eagles defense, since the bye, since they figured out Vic Fangio's defense, since they put Cooper DeJean in at nickel, they have been absolutely lights out. I mean, the likes of which you rarely see in the NFL. I mean, they're holding teams like the Giants and Cowboys to less than 50 yards net passing in an NFL game. When they're beating them by 20-some points, that's unheard of. And then offensively, that's really never been a debate. I mean, they have a top 5 running back, obviously, if not the best. They have a top 5 receiving duo, obviously, if not the best. They have a top 5 tight end. They have a top 5 offensive line, obviously, if not the best, especially getting Mailata back tomorrow night. And then they have a quarterback who is playing much better than he did the first 4 weeks. Over the last 5 weeks, Jalen has really improved his game. So, I mean, I don't know. There's not that many positions. I just told you the defense is awesome, and I told you they're top 5 at every position on offense. That sounds pretty good to me.
Well, the pushback, Ross, is, Dallas isn't very good. The Giants aren't very good. Jacksonville stinks. You talked about the bottom half. Well, they just blew through a bunch of them.
Well, that's correct. They have not played a tough schedule recently. That said, they went on the road. They beat the Bengals by 20 in Cincinnati. Who else is doing that?
Right.
And the schedule will play itself out over the next few weeks. We know that. but they're doing what you should do to bad teams. They're smashing them. I actually just posted on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. They've outgained their opponents by 900 yards the last 5 games. I mean, you're talking about almost 200 yards a game. That just doesn't happen in the NFL, where on average you're outgaining your opponent by almost 200 yards. So, yeah, they haven't played great teams. They're still NFL teams. I was in the booth a few weeks ago for CBS when the Browns beat the Ravens, right? I mean, the Saints just beat the Falcons. Bad teams in the NFL step up and give good teams games. They beat them sometimes. The Eagles, you know, I guess the Browns game was somewhat competitive with the blocked field goal for a touchdown, and the Jags game somewhat competitive after the faulty Saquon fumble call. But other than that, nobody's gotten within a score of them. It's really, really impressive. So hard to do in the NFL.
Ross Tucker, one of your former teams is Washington. It's the first time these two teams will play with something on the line in almost 30 years. I mean, these two teams have not been good at the same time. What impresses you about Washington, and why should the Eagles be leery of them on Thursday night?
Well, they are legit good, and primarily because they got the guy. They got a franchise quarterback. I mean, Mike, I played for 5 teams, 7 years. I was on the Patriots when we had Brady. I was on other teams when we didn't have anybody close to Brady. And I just can't tell you how much of a difference it makes, the entire vibe. And I'm not even just the players, man. Like the ticket guys, like the equipment managers, like the whole building is different when you have a legit guy at that position, like the Commanders do in Jaden Daniels. And you know what's crazy too, Mike? You'll appreciate this. Every quarterback guru that came on my show before the draft, I'm telling you, Louis Riddick, Greg Cosell, of course, he's on every week, Dan Orlovsky, Chase Daniel, Sean King, they either said they liked Jaden more than Caleb Williams, or as they talked about it, Phil Simms, as they talked about it, you could tell they liked Jaden Daniels more than Caleb Williams. So I'm not that surprised. Now, their roster is not nearly as good as the Eagles' roster.
Right.
They know that. I mean, there's not even that many guys for the Commanders that would start for the Eagles. But they've got the quarterback, and they've got the belief. And what that's done is that's elevated an average line to above average. It's elevated an average defense to a little bit above average. And that's huge. That's the difference in the NFL. I mean, that guy, that position, right or wrong, it's the difference maker. I mean, it's the thing that differentiates, for the most part, the good teams from the bad teams.
All right, we're talking with Ross Tucker. He'll be on the national call for Westwood One Radio. I'm going to cosplay as Ian Eagle, and I'm going to toss it to you, Ross Tucker. Give me the key to this Thursday night football game. When we do the open for Thursday night football on Westwood One, what is top of your list of things when you're watching this game?
Well, for the Commanders, I think you really, really want to adopt the strategy they had a couple years ago when Taylor Heineke came into the link and beat the Eagles. The only loss that year, by the way, for the Eagles with Hurts as their starting quarterback. Play keep away. Run the rock. Make the Eagles prove they can stop you. So run it on first, run it on second, third down, convert some third downs with Jaden Daniels, but play keep away, shorten the game. The Eagles are the more talented team, so I think that's the key for the Commanders is to run the football and have a good establishment of the run. For the Eagles, it's really probably just turnovers, right? I mean, you know, they're very, very talented. If they win the turnover margin, or at least don't lose the turnover margin, and you can say this about any team in any game, but it really feels like they can be better than anybody if that's the key. Now, I'll say this, too. Make somebody other than Terry McLaurin beat them. I mean, it feels like Terry McLaurin kills the Eagles every time they play. Fangio's got to come up with something where it's not Scary Terry killing them.
Well, they do have Quinyon Mitchell. He's changed a lot for this team. Ross Tucker, tell us real quick. It's the holiday season. We started with that. MyFrontPageStory.com. You told us a little bit about it at the Super Bowl last year, but that was post-holiday season. Tell the people for the Christmas season, which is now here.
Yeah, you know what? My buddy started the company. It's genius. You talk to a writer on the phone for 10 minutes while you're driving home from work, or if you want, you can even, fill out an email, tell them how great your significant other is, or maybe your mom, whoever you want to get it for. They write this incredible story, Mike. It looks like it's on the cover of like the newspaper, like the Philly Inquirer, framed pictures of your mom or your wife with you, the kids, the whole deal. I'm just telling you, when they see these pictures and see themselves on the front cover, they don't even know what it is. They're like, wait, what is this? They're blown away. And then they read the quotes from you telling them how special, or the kids giving quotes about how great your wife is. They will cry. I can almost guarantee they will cry. Before you think about any other Christmas gift this year, check out myfrontpagestory.com, myfrontpagestory.com.
All right, Ross, we'll be tuned in. And, of course, the Eagles and the Commanders and Ross Tucker. Check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Follow him on social media at Ross Tucker NFL, and you can get clips of his social media, the podcast and the show. Always does great work. Have a good call on the game, and we'll catch up with you soon, man.
Thanks so much, Mike. Take care.
Always good. Ross Tucker NFL on the X platform.